What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction video. In this one we have what a Trump victory means for the UK. Very intrigued to hear how the US president impacts the UK. I don't know enough about politics around the world to know. I know that the US is very influential around the world, but I don't know enough about politics to know how the US president impacts each and every country. So this video will be very helpful. Now, before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you would like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is smash that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's get right to it.
This video was brought to you by Ground News. Following a historically unpredictable election, former President Donald Trump will once again move into the White House and become the 47th President of the United States. Well, Trump has been president before, and usually this will provide us with some kind of idea of how his next term will play out. His unpredictable nature means that the next few months are going to be even harder than ever to predict. That makes things tricky on this side of the pond. As the new Labour government, we're desperately trying to work out how they can maintain the so-called special relationship with a man that stands for virtually everything they stand against. So in this video, we're going to go through the work that the Labour government has already been putting in to try and build bridges with the president-elect. Before moving on and having a look at what exactly this means for both the British government and the UK as a whole.
So this should be interesting because you got two very different governments, it sounds like, with opposing views on a lot of things. And they got to figure out how to build those bridges and work together and keep that special relationship going. I'm very intrigued.
Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. Now, it's fair to say that Labour and Donald Trump don't have that much in common. In fact, the current Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, is in a bit of hot water this week, as some of his old tweets about the president-elect have resurfaced. In them, Lammy is shown to have described Trump as a racist KKK and Nazi sympathizer, and a liar and a coward for cancelling a visit to a US war cemetery in France to mark Armistice Day. Given that it will primarily be Lammy's job to maintain the UK's relationship with the US, this isn't exactly the best start.
That's it puts it in a bit of a pickle. It puts you in a bit of a pickle trying to figure out if it's your job to keep that relationship going forward, for you to said those things in the past. And there's plenty of people who said plenty of things in the past. So hopefully, it's water under the bridge. Get over it. Do what's best for both countries. But that it puts you in it's just awkward. That's the word I'm looking for. It just makes things awkward.
Presumably anticipating this problem, though, both Starmer and Lammy met with Trump a few weeks ago in order to try and establish something of a diplomatic relationship. It seems that this meeting went well, too, with Trump sources claiming that it was taken as a good gesture. However, there are recent reports that Trump has been privately critical of Starmer as very left-wing, and has echoed some of Elon Musk's strong criticism about Starmer and his government. In fact, the presence of Trump superfan Elon Musk in Trump's governing circle could prove problematic for the Trump-Starmer relationship. Given that
Musk and Starmer, they was having some problems with each other. I forgot there was some issues going on.
Musk has fully jumped into the online debates about the state of the UK. Similarly, Trump's warm relationship with Reform UK leader and political opponent of Starmer, Nigel Farage, could create some hiccups. It's not all about personality, though. Policy will play an important role, too. It's the economic sphere that the UK will perhaps feel the biggest impact of the incoming Trump presidency. As part of the unorthodox economic agenda that Trump has set out, he's floated implementing a 60% tariff on Chinese goods and a flat tariff of up to 20% on imports from the rest of the world. According to analysis by the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, the UK could be one of the worst hit countries by Trump's tariff policies and potential subsequent trade war. With the think tank estimating that over 2 years, the UK's inflation rate would be 3 to 4 points higher, while interest rates would be 2 to 3 points higher. Additionally, the UK's growth is projected to be lowered by 0.7 percentage points and 0.5 percentage points in just the first 2 years. Although, according to Labour's Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds, Trump's tariff plans are something that the UK government has been preparing for.
Okay.
Nevertheless, Trump evidently could prove a hurdle to Starmer's core mission for
I feel like that's something that I've seen, like scrolling through social media, that so many different countries and so many people within the country are preparing for. So it's very interesting to see everybody in preparation of this. But I mean, you don't have a choice. You got my coach used to say something great about preparation, but I can't remember it. But preparation is key, and it's interesting to see how things will play out. And I guess we'll see over time. The UK taking with their growth taking a hit of not 0.5. I'll say 0.5 because that's how I talk. 0.5% growth in the first 2 years, and a 0.7% reduction in growth over I guess the term is not great. It doesn't sound great at all. But hopefully UK and US figure something out, right? The governments can figure
economic growth. Trump's potential trade war with China actually touches on the next area of potential UK-US friction that we're going to discuss, a difference in China policy. The Labour government, having launched a fresh review of the UK-China relationship, is seeking to take a pragmatic approach to China, one that acknowledges and confronts its differences with Beijing, but also regularly engages and works together over key global issues. On top of this, Jonathan Reynolds says that he's open to reviving the trade dialogue with China. Now, this could put the UK in an awkward collision course with the Trump White House, as it hardens its rhetoric on China and may look to pressure allies into taking a more hawkish position too. While Keir Starmer and David Lammy have reiterated their belief in maintaining the so-called special relationship with the US and working constructively with Donald Trump, despite their differences, a new Trump administration could end up pushing the UK closer to the EU if Starmer takes the opportunity. Trump's victory has evidently spooked European leaders because of his past comments on NATO and Russia, and vindicated those who have urged Europe to free itself from its security reliance on the US and develop its own strategic autonomy. The return of Trump therefore presents an opportunity for Europe, as we explained in our recent TLDR EU video, and therefore opens the door for the UK to take a more leading role in building a new European security apparatus. This would come at a financial cost, though, meaning that the UK and its European allies would face pressure to crank up defense spending, especially if Trump does outright quit NATO, or if he scaled back US support for Ukraine. What's more, Trump's attitude towards the environment could also push the UK even closer to Europe. During his first term, Trump pulled the US out of the Paris Climate Agreement, which committed signatories to reduce their carbon emissions to net zero by 2050. Now, this obviously runs counter to the Labour government's plans. Upon being elected Prime Minister, Starmer used his first speech at the UN General Assembly to reiterate that his government would be a global leader on the environment. How possible this would be while trying to cozy up with a man who's described climate change as a big hoax is certainly questionable.
It doesn't sound like it's going to be possible by 2050. This is interesting. This is very interesting, just from the terms of just two very different approaches and two very, very different perspectives trying to come and work together. UK wanting that relationship with China, it sounds like, and they want that trade partner, and they're open to the dialogue. And the US like, the harsher dialogue on the trade relationship with China, and then putting that pressure on its allies. I think, of course, the government would put that pressure on the allies. If, hey, we don't like that country, we don't want y'all to like that country. Do I think it's right? Probably not. But do I think it's going to happen? Probably. And then backing out of NATO. I don't think that's the greatest idea. But I guess he's, in terms of his perspective, he's seeing it as the U.S. is really like there to defend everybody else. So everybody else is benefiting more from NATO than the U.S. I'm not saying that's how I see it. I'm saying I'm looking at it from that perspective, which I assume that's how he sees it. I don't think backing out of NATO is a good idea. I think NATO is solid in terms of that relationship, having those allies. I believe allies are very important to have. I also believe like the exercises between all the countries absolutely help prepare soldiers for when situations go down. Got to be ready. But Europe probably would be in their best interest to come up with their own security all these European countries to come up with their own security. I would think it would be in their best interest. So to ramp up defense spending for each country. I don't know if that's an actuality or if that would actually happen. I'm not completely sure. I don't think we'll back out of NATO. So y'all let me know in the comment section what you guys think so far. Very intrigued. Let's go ahead and listen to the rest.
Additionally, while Biden rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement on the first day of his presidency, there's a real possibility that Trump could, for the second time, pull the US out of it. According to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, such a move could cripple global climate cooperation. As a result, a UK seeking international cooperation on climate change will have to look elsewhere than a Trump-led US for a constructive partner. Ultimately, Trump's return is just the latest shake-up of an already turbulent international picture. Take the G7 group of advanced economies, for example. It's quite likely that within just a few years, Starmer ends up as the only left-of-center leader in a notably right-wing G7, with Trump heading up the US and Giorgia Meloni in Italy, and likely incoming conservative governments in Germany and Canada, and also possibly France. So while Trump may prove to be the most erratic international partner, Starmer will need to get used to working constructively with those from different political camps if he's going to be successful. Now, these stories about the US election and the impact of Trump aren't likely to go away anytime soon. As the international effect of Trump begins to emerge, the impact of a Trump presidency is only going to become a larger and larger issue. When it comes to following that chaos, though, thankfully, there's Ground News, a website and app developed by a former NASA engineer on a mission to give readers an easy, data-driven, objective debt, despite raising $1 billion during the campaign. It's been reported on by 22 outlets, 91% of those landing on the right and 9% in the center, but literally no coverage from the left, meaning that it's likely a story that those on the left missed entirely. The framing also differs significantly too, with the more centrist outlets claiming that the debt resulted from the necessary high-cost strategies to compete against Trump's established base and messaging, while those on the right used it as evidence of poor financial management and misallocation of resources. They also have a special election page to help you follow along.
I feel like that's a lot of money to go through, especially for the campaign to end up in debt. That's a lot. It definitely is. Y'all let me know how y'all feel, but that's a decent amount.
The breaking news. You can also read specific stories for each candidate, including the major platform issues and even blind spots, stories underreported by one side of the political spectrum or the other. Ground News is such a useful tool for our current media landscape, and I can't recommend it enough. I know I've personally benefited enormously from Ground News. I've gotten better at spotting political bias, and I've surprisingly challenged some of my own views. In fact, if you subscribe today, you'll get 50% off their Vantage plan, which includes unlimited access to their election pages, blind spot feed, and many other features that empower you as a news consumer. This is their biggest discount yet, so go to ground.news/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or use the link in the description to subscribe today.
So during this video, we got to see a lot of, examples of what this victory will mean for the UK. I'm intrigued to hear from you guys. What do you guys think the relationship will be like? Do you think it'll be a favorable relationship? Do you guys think, not the right move? And what's going on over there? I would love to hear and just get your perspective on this. That is all we have for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the next one. I'll see you guys next time.